This is Michael Popok for the new Legal AF YouTube channel. You knew that. You're already here. I had to go dark, after dark, to talk about the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals and at least two judges on the Fifth Circuit who are trying out to be the MAGA, super MAGA, out MAGA replacements if they should come up on a United States Supreme Court if Donald Trump gets anywhere near the White House again. Focus on James Ho, H-O, and Andrew Oldham. Ho clerked for Clarence Thomas. In fact, when Ho was sworn in as a federal judge, he had Clarence Thomas do it. And guess where they did it? In the home of Harlan Crowe. Harlan Crowe is the Nazi memorabilia collecting, multi-billionaire real estate mogul. He inherited all of his fortune that has bought and paid for Clarence Thomas, including all of those trips he took. Hundreds and thousands of dollars on yachts, on boats, on hunting lodges, and the like. That was Harlan Crowe. And Ho had no problem hanging out with Crowe and Clarence Thomas, and Ho is trying out for the United States Supreme Court. And if you think that the current makeup of the United States Supreme Court keeps you up at night and gives you nightmares like Freddy Krueger, wait till you see James Ho. Because James Ho is so radical that even this United States Supreme Court rejects him more often than not. He once said about, in a concurrence that he said, in which even Kavanaugh of all people, said that the Fifth Circuit was wrong to have, and Texas judges like Kazmarek in Amarillo, Texas, were wrong to find that doctors somehow had standing in order to bring a case about whether mifepristone or any of the medication abortion drugs were lawful or not. Some phony doctor group brought the case. And even Brett Kavanaugh was like, okay, you guys don't have standing, which is the fundamental thing of injury that you need in order to even get into a courthouse and have a case. But not to James Ho. James Ho said the doctors do have standing because they have a euphoria. They have a happiness about delivering babies. And that happiness will be taken away from them. I'm not making this up, by the way. This happiness will be taken away from them by abortion. And therefore, according to Lisa Graves, one of my colleagues and collaborators with Court Accountability, who was quoted in Mother Jones magazine in an article by Pima Levy, she said, oh, now look how far we've gone now. Now, a woman has to carry a baby to term in order to increase the joy of the doctor delivering it. This is where we've gone. Now, we're doing a new show right here on Legal AF, the YouTube channel, called Unprecedented, where we're going to look weekly at the United States Supreme Court. But let's look at it right now. The United States Supreme Court supervises 13 federal circuits. 13. You know what the number one circuit is that the Supreme Court takes cases from at their highest appellate level? The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. You know the number one circuit that is primarily dominated by Trump appointees? The Fifth Circuit. In fact, particularly out of the 17 seats on the Fifth Circuit, six were appointed by Donald Trump. It's sort of like evolution in reverse, you know. And I might get this slightly wrong, and I apologize. But you know how Homo sapien took out Cro-Magnon man, right? Because they were the higher, more intelligent species. Well, it's in reverse on display with MAGA Trump-appointed judges taking out Reagan and Bush traditional Republicans and controlling them with their right-wing MAGA rulings. And as the Bush and Reagan appointees are dying out, a inferior breed of MAGA Trumpers, super right-wing, sometimes super right-wing that they scare the United States Supreme Court. The judges of the Fifth Circuit, including James Ho trying out for a spot on the Supreme Court, has been reversed 8 out of 11 times in major cases. But if you let them have their way, let me just tell you what the legal and rights landscape would look like in America if the judges on the Fifth Circuit, including Andrew Oldham, an Alito clerk, and James Ho, sworn in by Harlan Crowe, along with Clarence Thomas, had their way. This is what the world would look like. You ready? And this is from the Mother Jones article that just came out. Imagine Obamacare is dead and millions of Americans have lost health coverage. Abortion is illegal nationwide. Illegal. Pills to end pregnancies are off the market, and doctors wait until the mother's death is imminent before even attempting life-saving care. By the way, that's over now. That has to be rewritten in that article based on the new Supreme Court decision about Texas. Domestic abusers freely carry guns, and government's attempt to stop untraceable homemade semi-automatic rifles have been quashed, rendering gun licenses and background checks useless. Environmental regulations founder as climate change worsens, and so on and so on. That's the world of the Fifth Circuit. That even shocking to the Supreme Court, who keeps telling them, stop entering nationwide injunctions from your little chair in Abilene, Texas. Matt Kaczmarek, I'm looking at you. James Ho thinks forum shopping is fine. Sure, bring the cases to the judges. They'll give you the decision that you want. Go to these single judge districts in ultra-right, rock-ribbed Republican MAGA districts like Kaczmarek in Abilene, Texas, or the right-leaning Fort Worth, Texas branch of the Texas federal courts. Andrew Oldham is quieter than James Ho, doesn't seem to take as extreme positions, but he's trying out for the Supreme Court nonetheless if Donald Trump gets in. Donald Trump's already picked who his first and second pick would be, and if he gets two more picks, he will cement a 6-3 or 7-2 majority for an entire generation. And if that scares the bejesus out of you, you vote, get your grandmother to vote, get your mother to vote, get your friends to vote, get your relatives to vote, get everybody to vote, and stop it. If for no other reason than to turn the control of the Supreme Court back to a 5-4 progressive Democratic spot. Because if you don't do it, it's what we call in the legal business a crevice risk. If it happens, Trump wins, you fall to oblivion through the crevice. We'll never see you again. We'll never see American society again as we know it. We'll never see civil liberties for women, for LGBTQ+, for people that identify, including teenagers and others, as transgender. No rights. Immigrants, no rights. Criminals, no rights. Criminal defendants, no rights. So the reason I want to shine a light on this is that we've joined forces with Court Accountability and with Lisa Graves, who's with True North, an investigative research body. And Lisa served in 2 other administrations. She served with every department, every branch of our government she has served in. And she has an important voice here. The Fifth Circuit is fundamentally premised on denying a woman's equality in our society through abortion laws, which they support, and dismantling one by one the administrative state, helped by, because they're anti-regulation in every way. That is a foundation of MAGA. Used to be a foundation of conservatism, but it's really a foundation of MAGA. And they were helped by 2 major decisions, which were basically calculated and manufactured by Leonard Leo of the Federalist Society, working to lobby and make sure the right people were on the United States Supreme Court this term in a perfect storm to make it come together. And in 2 back-to-back decisions, one that got a lot of press and one that didn't get as much press, the administrative state has been dismantled. And the ability of people to sue administrative agencies has been exponentially increased. The first case, we talked about it on Legal AF, I'm going to do it again here, is a case we refer to by shorthand as Loper Bright. Loper Bright. It's named after an entity. That one destroyed completely and threw out 50 years of jurisprudence and a doctrine that I learned in law school and every administrative law person understood as the Chevron defense, named after Chevron, in which administrative agencies and their experts were given a deference. Right? Tie goes to the runner by a federal judge because they were the experts in the area of fill in the blank, environmental protection, securities regulation, worker protection, and the like. Now, federal judges who barely got a C in math or science are trying to work these things out themselves because we have to shrink, according to the MAGA, the administrative state and regulations. So Loper Bright got rid of the Chevron doctrine or Chevron defense, which is the first shoe to drop to eliminate regulation in our society. The second one is a case called Corner Post. I love these names. Corner Post was a 6-3 decision involving the federal regulatory agency. It was written by Amy Coney Barrett. And in that one, it basically said the 6-year statute of limitations to bring a challenge to under the Administrative Procedures Act to a regulation, you can disregard it. It goes on forever. It's whenever you get injured. You get injured 10 years from now, 15 years from now, you want to challenge a regulation, you can challenge a regulation. Go ahead. Used to be, as in every cause of action, you had to bring it within a certain time. Nope, not anymore. So now when you put together Loper Bright and Corner Post, you got almost the last nail in the coffin of regulation. And then you got the other cases that say, there's the third case in there involving the Securities and Exchange Commission, and this is all last term of the Supreme Court. One term. Changing the face of our society for the worse in one term or less. And in the case involving the SEC, the Supreme Court said, yeah, those administrative law judges that you had and that internal system that you had to enforce fines and penalties against people that broke the law, broke your laws for whatever agency that you are in. Yeah, we don't like those. It has to be an Article 3 judge, a federal judge under the Constitution. You don't get to have your own justice system. And now all the agencies have to go out and hire new lawyers and spend a lot of taxpayer dollars. And everybody can challenge regulations and fines now. And the whole thing's been turned upside down. That's what the Supreme Court has done. Can you imagine if James Ho or Andrew Oldham is on the Supreme Court and all the crazy wackiness that they have tried to do lately? Or Matt Kaczmarek, who used to work for a right-to-life Christian-based movement before he was elevated to the United States Supreme Court. You might think, well, he doesn't seem neutral. Should he be on to the federal court? Should he be on federal court, having never been a judge? And he was only general counsel or assistant general counsel for a right-wing Christian organization that was anti-women and pro-life. What's he doing there? And not only that, they stuck him in Abilene, Texas, by himself. So of course, all you do is what happened in the Mifepristone case. You just form a fake plaintiff. I mean, really, it was a fake plaintiff. It just got formed for that case of a bunch of doctors who, they've lost the ability to share the joy and shed a tear over a mother being forced and compelled to carry another life to term. And they filed a suit. And lo and behold, Abilene, Texas, one judge lands on the desk of Matt Kaczmarek, who not only overturns the FDA approval of Mifepristone, which has been ruled safe and safer, not as safe, safer than aspirin in studies. Not only did he issued a nationwide injunction from Abilene, Texas, which affected 150 million plus women in this country. Even the Supreme Court was like, don't do that. Don't do that. But what's going to happen when somebody is replaced by James Ho? Right? And that's why I'm calling attention to it now. And what is the solution? What's the call to action, Popok? Help us. Help us fix this problem you've now identified for the last 13 minutes. What do we do? It's easy. It's not about you just voting. It's about everybody in your life voting and making sure that not only that the executive branch go to Kamala Harris, and we have our first Madam President, but that the Congress and particularly the Senate goes blue to get these judges confirmed. Because if we give Donald Trump another chance to add to these MAGA right-wing Trumpers, more districts, more circuits than just the 5th out of the 13 are going to go MAGA. Which means more cases are going to get filed in more places, like the 11th and the 5th and the 7th and the 6th, all around the country, which is going to give another feeder group to get up to the United States Supreme Court and change the face of our free society forever, or at least for 1 or 2 generations. Federal judges get appointed when they're late 40s and early 50s, and they sit there for 25 to 30 years with life tenure. Think of the damage that could do at the United States Supreme Court. But even below it, I want you to focus on the courts below the United States Supreme Court, because they're just as important, if not more important, to your day-to-day life as they try to pressure test our democracy. right? And shoot cannons of water pressure at the Supreme Court to try. It's like, think of it like a hockey game with a goalie, right? They always do shots on goal, right? How many times did the puck end up being hurled at the head of the goalie, and how many did he reflect? How many did he deflect? Sorry. How many shots on goal? Well, it's soccer too. Well, instead of picturing 5 or 10, picture 1,000 shots on goal. One of them, 2 of them, 5 of them are going to get through to the United States Supreme Court. It's just the sheer volume of these crazy decisions coming out of places like the Fifth Circuit. Vote. Make sure federal judges reflect your values. Make sure federal circuit court judges reflect your values and they come from the federal lower courts. Make sure the Supreme Court reflects your values. They're standing in judgment of you. Make sure it's the people that you can respect and honor and you feel they have integrity and that they have our best interest at heart because they are the firewall that's supposed to be protecting our democracy. I'm going to follow it all here on Legal AF MTN, our new channel, and on shows like Unprecedented. I'm doing with Dina Dahl once a week to talk about the United States Supreme Court, and we'll bring in some great guests. I'm doing an interview of Michael Luttig, J. Michael Luttig, who would be on the Mount Rushmore of the Federalist Society conservative judges if it wasn't for the fact that he's a patriot first and a constitutional scholar second, and has now throatily endorsed Kamala Harris. He's the one that saved democracy because he gave Mike Pence a backbone and stuck a steel rod up his backside and told him you have to certify the election for Joe Biden. That Michael Luttig. He's being interviewed with me again. I think it's the 4th or 5th time addressing the Midas Touch audience and legal AFers. And then we've got this new relationship, which I'm so enthusiastic about and so happy about, with Court Accountability, Alex Aronson, Lisa Graves, and others. You know, they're all they do is they get up in the morning and brush their teeth and think about the federal judiciary and the corruption levels going on there all the way up to the Supreme Court. And now they're with us doing hot takes and analysis and commentary, Court Accountability. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF podcast, until my next whatever here on Legal AF, the YouTube channel, Legal AF MTN in collaboration with the Midas Touch Network. This is Michael Popok, and I am reporting. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.